Hi everyone and welcome to Priority Holder, and today we'll be playing Blue-Black Waste Campaign in the Explorer format. Now you may be asking yourself, why would we want to play Waste Campaign? Well, Disinformation Campaign is just a fun card. When it enters the battlefield, we draw a card and the opponent discards a card, and we can bounce it to our hand anytime we Surveil. Now note that this is before the release of Brothers War, and therefore there are a lot fewer Surveil cards in circulation. And so this is going to get a huge power level boost, but I've already been tinkering with this before that announcement. And I think I finally got to somewhere where it's starting to make some sense and I'm not losing so much. The way I decided to build around it was to pair this with the card Waste Not. So it's a 2-mana enchantment that whenever our opponent discards something, depending on what it is, we get value. Either, we get a zombie, 2 black mana, or we draw a card. So we're incentivized to make our opponents discard a lot. And because this has recursive, we can keep making discard and get some value that way. My Surveil package has shrunk quite a lot. The current, pre-Brothers War Surveil pool is pretty poor. A lot of them are very overcosted. The best tool we have, though, is Thought Erasure, because it works into both our Waste Not and Disinformation Campaign plans. So it's just simply a discard spell that lets us Surveil one. The other one that's left behind, that's still in the running, is Mission Briefing, sort of a flat Snapcaster Mage kind of card. And I originally had way more Surveil cards, but realized this is just a very clunky plan to keep circulating this, and that you honestly didn't need to do it that many times to clean out their hand. So went way more heavier on the defense. Another thing in testing I realized is that there's just too many ultra powerful graveyard decks that love discarding, so like notably Greasefang. And so another innovation was to add 4 Leyline of the Void, and just hope, so this gives us an edge against the graveyard decks. It is a clunky card to have, however we have a lot of ways to get rid of it for profit. One of which is March of Wretched Sorrow, just like a defensive card, gains us life, helps us combat creatures and planeswalkers. We can pitch extra copies of Leyline to it. Another way to get rid of it is through Lily on the Veil. If we plus it, we have junk cards to discard, whereas, opponents discarding stuff and we're getting value off Waste Not. Not only that, but it plays defense also. So Liliana has really leveled up this deck. And another way to pitch dead cards is through Fae of Wishes, with the bouncing ability it has. Granted, it's nice because it allows us to get some extra, sort of silver bullets and defensive cards from our sideboard over here. But yeah, that's what's going on. We have discard spells, we have defensive spells, loaded up on creature lands as part of our win conditions. And a cool one that I like playing is Crawling Barrens, because often opponents pitching lands to Waste Not, and we can help that mana not go to waste by throwing it into Crawling Barrens and growing it safely as a non-creature until we're ready to activate it. But yeah, this deck is crazy, and yeah, let's jump into some games. Alright, game 1 with about as perfect a hand as you could hope for. Turn 0 Leyline, and option to turn 1 Thoughtseize. Seems like a pretty good idea. Gigantha could be sacrificed, they might Thoughtseize us, so this could be a preemptive Thoughtseize strike. Now here we see, so once again confirming, Gigantha, they're on sacrifice, we see Mayhem Devil. That's the most problematic, so we'll definitely take that. Alright, so opponent plays the Voldarian Epicure, and as soon as this Waste Not drops on our side, though, those blood tokens are a liability for them. And so we're feeling pretty good with Leyline locking out like any cats, and Waste Not shutting down like the sacrifice vampires, or like the blood tokens. Like this is the kind of situation you want to be in. Opponent shocks and land, plays another Epicure. There's a cat. Not nearly as scary without Oven and with a Leyline of the Void in play. I was hoping to just slam Liliana and start plussing and getting value, but they just have so many creatures out. it just doesn't seem very profitable to play Liliana right now. It seems better to wait. The question is, like, how to spend the mana, like gain max life or hold a mana open for Fatal Push. Decide to go for maximum life, not pitching any cards. Taking care of the Cauldron from there. I don't know if they have a way to like get rid of Leyline. Looks like they're strictly red-black, so probably not without touching green. But just playing it safe. So opponent attacks in. We fall to 12. And we're waiting to see what they do. Alright, so they just go for the Gigantha to the hand. And another Waste Knot seems incredible. We still have Fatal Push up also, so double Waste Knot will mean like they just cannot discard anything. It's like Fable of the Mirror Breaker, you know, second mode, they can't do that. They can't crack their blood tokens. I mean, they could. It would just be absolutely incredible for us if they did. The opponent's thinking about it, like, oh, how bad could it be? Alright, so Unlucky Witness. Normally has a death trigger, but that doesn't matter with Leyline of the Void out. But just to keep the pressure off ourselves, and like Liliana's more powerful, she's, you know, not under as much pressure, so just go ahead and kill it. Like killing the more relevant one, even though, you know, they probably have no way to come out from under Leyline in best of one. Thoughtseize. Was gonna, you know, Liliana is way more mana efficient, but Thoughtseize lets us get rid of Gigantha and get some two zombie tokens, which basically shuts them down. So we put Thoughtseize on the stack, feeling pretty great. You know, if we take a non-land, we can just draw cards, maybe hit a land and slam Lily. Like there's a lot of good things that can happen here. The opponent's contemplating what to do, and surprise, like I couldn't believe this, but they actually crack a blood token here, pitching Gigantha, and they see our zombies go on the stack, and they're just like, yeah, this is not going to work, and they're out. So that, like I said, that was about as perfect as a hand game one, and it went really nicely. So this hand also looks great. We've got the turn 0 Leyline, don't have a black source, opt not to Thoughtseize, since you'd much prefer to do that post Waste Knot. Alright, so haul the Storm Giants from the opponent. Waste Knot. I was really worried about like a Spell Pierce there or something, but no, Waste Knot is safe. So blue and black looks like the opponent is on control, based on what we've seen. Now, Thoughtseize is easier to slip in there, it's less mana, and so we fire off Thought Erasure, and we could see the opponent is definitely control, and they're like really kitted out to be like anti-creature, like at least from what we see, like everything is like a creature killing spell in their hand, and that is going to be horrendous against what we're doing. So we're pretty happy about that. So already getting some Waste Knot value, just shredding their hand and drawing cards. So we could fire off both if we play Shipwreck Marsh. Decide just to lead with the Thought Erasure once again. We already know what their hand entails. We are hoping to win with like a bunch of zombies anyway, so like might as well start getting rid of their removal cards, and it draws us cards as well. So life's feeling pretty good. Alright, we pass to them. Could have fired off Thoughtseize, decide like we know that there's no cards in their hand that are actively dangerous to us, so opt just to hold on to Thoughtseize. But they have a mystery card, and Thoughtseize essentially cycles for us now with Waste Knot in play. So trying to figure out what to take. We draw an island off our waste knot. And now the real heavy hitter comes down. Liliana of the Veil. We can plus her. We have some spare lands, so we'll definitely pitch them. Though we do have a Crawling Barrens in play and a Hive of the Eye Tyrant, so like we do want mana. We want lands so that we can activate those very soon. So we gotta be careful not to like hammer our own hand too much. And we have way fewer blue cards than black, so we'll play that on the black side. The opponent is not going to go down without a fight, though. They got Field of Ruin that can take down their choice of our 2 creature lands. So decide to just lead it Lily on the Veil plus.
We all have
pitching a land once again. Holding under a creature land, we see that they have 2 creature lands and a Field of Ruin, so like this is going to be a land battle right here. And they're realizing that as well. You notice like they're prioritizing holding on to their lands, developing their mana. They know this is going to be a creature land fight. Like their removal spells don't matter. Okay, so opponent fires off Field of the Dead, hitting our Hive of the Eye Tyrant. So opponent is playing really well here. They're, when they have the choice of what to discard with Liliana, they're pitching their non-land cards. They're just playing their lands. That allows them to be able to play, if they draw something relevant, to be able to play it. They can tell we're not like a creature-heavy deck, and so...
Drop it.
So we'll fire off Liliana again. We're going to pitch our spare Leyline of the Void. And that's part of the power of being, we can play like what is most often a dead card in Leyline because we can get rid of it for profit with Liliana. So we fire up Crawling Barrens, bracing ourselves from oh no, we don't. They don't have a removal spell because they have Island, but that island will make their Hall of the Storm Giants active, which is a problem because we were really getting hopeful about ultimating Liliana, but Hall of the Storm Giants is going to cut her down right away. So Liliana down. So what do we do now? Really trying to figure out what to do. End up deciding just to knock that last card out of their hand. I know it's going to just get eaten by another Hall of the Storm Giants. Decide to pitch Thoughtseize. Oh, nope, never mind. Extinction Event, yeah, because that's going to be very useless in this matchup. Okay, so we get some spare mana. And trying to decide what to do. Like, we could... we have options. We could just sink that mana into Crawling Barrens. We could fire off Fae of Wishes. Trying to figure out how to look at my sideboard. So let's look at our little wish board right here. Fae of Wishes. So we could get like an Ashiok for the future, but it's not super great against what they're doing. I mean, it does something. You can make 2/3s on demand. End up deciding to hold off on Fae of Wishes and just pump that mana to Crawling Barrens. And so this situation right here is exactly why Crawling Barrens is in the deck, because we need creature lands to help us close the game and, once the hands get empty. Not only that, but with Waste Not in play, if the opponent's just pitching a bunch of lands, we don't have a lot of ways to profitably use that mana, so we can pour them into Crawling Barrens and just keep growing it without turning it into a creature, so without exposing it to removal, just so we can grow it very safely that way. So decide to Thoughtseize them, and we do nab a Fatal Push. That is actually really nice because that keeps our creature lands a little safer. We find our own Fatal Push, which is excellent. It'll help us take down one of their Hall of the Storm Giants. Now there is a argument for possibly hitting them with one of our creature lands, but decide to fire off Fae of Wishes here just to find something to start closing the game out. Like, we're just both in top deck mode. Don't want to give them time to try and draw out of this. And probably should have just played Fae of Wishes here. I don't know. I think I was thinking keep Fatal Push up, but it's not getting through Hall of the Storm Giants ward anyway. Opponent finds Narset, which is pretty tough because that can block the card draw mode on Waste Not, and not only that, but it can dig them so far each time. So Narset is a little annoying, but it does save us a turn from getting smacked with Hall of the Storm Giants. So they just fire off their Cling to Dust. Another Waste Not. I'm trying to figure out what to do. End up playing Ashiok. Now, if they had no cards in their hand, it'd be very tempting to -3 on Narset and just get rid of it. But they do have cards in hand, so like Narset could just come back down for even more value. So decide just to play the creature and play Fae of Wishes also. So we have 2 creatures that can hopefully help defend Ashiok to progress toward an ultimate, or just keep making 2/3s. Okay, so we're not happy about this another Narset minus, but now that's it for that Narset. So they find a Sinister Sabotage. Okay, so they're able to kick Bloodjuice Thirst. So Ashiok down, despite our best efforts. And they have the face-up counter spell. And so we have 2 Waste Knots, which we'd love to we'd love to resolve, but we don't want them to profit off their counter if we can help it, especially with that Surveil that can help dig them towards something that can stop us. So with a little bit of trepidation, like worrying about like a kill spell, decide to attack in this manner. I was about to attack everything, but they decide it might be helpful to leave a creature back for like those Hall of the Storm Giants, which could kill us pretty rapidly.
Still have much to learn.
Right, so we are able to take down Narset and decide just not to play Waste Not. Okay, so opponent ends up removing our 2/3. So shields are down for us for a moment. And opponent fires off Languish. And just trying to remove our Fae of Wishes. But we can activate in response, and honestly, the opponent is mostly empty-handed. We're not going to resolve a discard spell against them anytime soon, so decide to pitch both Waste Knots to Fae to return it to our hand. That way we can rebuy its adventure side. Now this is tricky here because they have a counter spell. We would love to let it rot in their hand, and we are able to profitably use our mana. Not only that, but this activation of Crawling Barrens outsizes Hall of the Storm Giants now. And so from now on, they'll be chump blocking our Crawling Barrens with their Hall of the Storm Giants. So we denied them the counterspell value and outgrew Hall of the Storm Giants. So opponents thinking through their options here. And we did it. On to the next one. We're just getting super lucky. This is the 3rd turn 0 leyline in a row. We'll see how relevant it actually is in this matchup. Last game it shut down Cling to Dust. Now there wasn't, in the blind, I don't think you should shock that in to hold up March, especially because you'd be pitching cards. But we just play a second land, play Waste Not. Then the snow-covered island makes you think Mono Blue Spirit, so I was wondering about a Spell Pierce there. Was actually just Spectral Sailor. And here's where the problems start for us. So Curious Obsession and holding up that 1 blue mana. So there's so much interaction. There's like that one spell that is cost reduced if you have a spirit. Like that's like their most powerful spell. It's like a 1 mana leak for their deck. And this is tough. So we could, with the combination of both marches and pitching and stuff, basically guarantee kill the spirit right now, but it'd be extremely high cost. We have to pay 1 X1 March, and if that fails, use the other black mana and pitch our Liliana. So it's just a horrendous exchange on cards. So we do walk right into Geistlit Snare, which is unfortunate, but the alternative, you know, we could have guaranteed the kill. I wasn't really ready to give up that many cards to do it. But maybe I should have with the Curious Obsession train starting. And now life just starts getting more difficult with Mausoleum Wanderer being able to sort of force spike us at times. I'm trying to figure out what to do. Leyline is useless at this point, so it's just a pitch card to March. So decide to do an X2 pitching Leyline, leaving 3 mana open to either, you know, to pay for the spirit counter and possibly slam Liliana. Wanted to do it in that order because, you know, I'm checking Mausoleum Wanderer, making sure it can't counter non-creatures. It's only instants and sorceries. Not optimistic about this resolving, but we got to play our cards. Like, there's only so much we can do, and it actually does resolve.
But I'm taking the credit.
And yeah, decide to plus it here with Waste Knot out, and opponent just whammies us. They Brazen Borrower bounce our Waste Knot with Liliana's activation on the stack. So now we lose our Waste Knot, and they just pitch something that doesn't matter. So who knows what they had in their hand? They might have had like a Rattle Change to flash out or something. So it may not have gone well for us either way, trying to minus Liliana, but opponent was able to whammy us pretty hard with the heads-up play there. And now things are going bad. They have a strong creature land. They have the Ascendant Spirit they can just keep sinking mana into. Now this Thoughtseize would be pretty strong if we still had a Waste Knot out. However, you know, opponent just empties their hand, and it's just a land stranded. So even if we plus Liliana, like we can knock the land out of their hand, but it's what point is that? So decide to cash Liliana in, but this game's effectively over. They've gotten too far ahead. And even something like an Extinction Event off the top, like they'd still have Faceless Haven to kill us with. So this one just sort of slipped away. Spirits is a very strong deck, and this deck, our deck is a little bit clunky. So I tried to like play it out a little bit, but it's basically over. The opponent can sink the mana into Spirit. They're playing it very conservatively because they're holding up the Brazen Borrower flash. But yeah, that land's not doing anything for us, so we are dead. On to the next one, though. Okay, no turn 0 Leyline, but otherwise a good hand. Now we will need a third land pretty desperately to do anything, but double Waste Knot seems very promising, and we have the Disinformation Campaign. So Yorion Companion on the other side in a black-white land. Trying to figure out what that means. So we slam our first copy of Waste Knot, feeling pretty good about that. And they play Spirited Companion. You know, it makes sense, like it's a really good value card with Yorion. Scavenger Grounds. Thankfully have our third land. Man efficient play would be to slam Disinformation Campaign, but that's so much more attractive with 2 Waste Knots in play. Would have loved to like fire off a Thoughtseize right after having 2 Waste Knots in play, but our hand seems pretty great right now. We will need some more colored mana to start getting value off Mission Briefing. But opponent fires off Weathered Runestone. They are definitely kitted for like Collected Company and Greasefang. Now, decide just to fire off the Fatal Push. Like, it's just a 1/1 attacking us, but they get so much value if they can blink it. So might as well just save ourselves the damage and deny them future blink value was my rationale there. Alright, so we've Disinformation Campaign, they pitch Trial of Ambition, which draws us 2 cards, which is real clutch because we need to keep the lands flowing. Now we finally got our Mission Briefing mana, so we can flash back a Fatal Push or something like that. And the Surveil will send Disinformation Campaign back into our hand. So the opponent plays Circuit Mender, another excellent blink target. So it seems like so far they're just like black-white value with Yorion. So So we just slam another Disinformation Campaign. They pitch another removal spell, which they're realizing is not going to be very profitable against us. Alright, so we're drawing a bunch of cards. Decided to play our tap land. We're getting a fine collection of creature lands in play. 2 Hive of the Eye Tyrant. And that might be how we close out this game. The opponent is denying us any zombies thus far. Then we see Doom Foretold. And now it all starts making sense, the black-white color combination. It's been a while since I battled Doom Foretold, so we have to sacrifice a non-token, non-land permanent as long as Doom Foretold's out. So decide to let one of the Disinformation campaigns go, because the Waste Knots are so valuable to us. But that is quite unfortunate. And the reason we play out Leyline of the Void is to just have sacrifice fodder for Doom Foretold. So opponent sacrifices Circuit Mender, trying to dig deeper into their deck. They have so much card draw. The good side of them having so much card draw is we'll have, if we can find ways to make them discard, they'll have cards in hand. But they find a second Doom Foretold, and things, I was previously feeling really great, but now we're actually losing meaningful things. And that's a second Disinformation Campaign that we lose. So the Leyline of the Void was able to insulate one of our Waste Knots. The problem is only one, but they're still going to have a Doom Foretold left over, because the Sacrifice Clause applies to them as well. They're going to sacrifice Weathered Runestone, but there's still going to be there's still going to be a Doom Foretold left over, which is going to keep eating up our permanents. And then they were prepared for this scenario. Omen of the Sun gives them the second, non-token sacrifice fodder to keep both Doom Foretold's active. Now we're in big trouble, because we were really counting these Waste Knots getting us there. And we have nothing that we could flash in to remedy this situation. So we're losing both Waste Knots, and the tide really seems like it's turning. Opponent brings back Yorion. Nightmare scenario is if they can play Yorion and flicker the Doom Foretolds. And it's looking pretty grim. Now that was pretty clutch. March of Wretched Sorrow, because that can allow us to combat Yorion. And just exiling things with Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Yeah, so opponent's Doom Foretold plan has just eaten alive all of our value permanents. And unfortunately for us, even though we lost all of our permanents, they weren't able to get the value play off the Doom Foretolds. And they both disappeared before Yorion could hit the battlefield. So as horrible as things are going, that is one significant upside. Is that the Doom Foretolds are now in the bin. They're not going to keep getting flickered, and yeah, we decide there is an off chance that they have ways to recur those from the graveyard. I mean, they play a lot of enchantments, so it would make sense that they have something that returns all artifacts and enchantments. So we're going to start exiling those value things from the graveyard. And we're keeping up Scavenger Grounds just in case. But opponent sees that we're not going to be able to put them any pressure, so they're able to just fire off Castle Locthwain activation. Alright, so opponent just plays Yorion for no value. That's very okay with us. And let's see if they're going to start sending with the soldier tokens. They are trying to protect their life total against our creature lands, which have menace. Okay, so they opt not to attack, so they're playing sort of defensive. And yeah, we can't, with our 3/3 menaces, we can't really attack in profitably. So trying to figure out what to do. Decide, at this point it's better to just take down Yorion with a giant march. Plus it's going to pad our life total a little bit. So I'm trying to figure out the mana to kill Yorion and have a Hive activation up left over. So it's going to be a combination of tapping for mana and pitching Leyline of the Void. It doesn't seem to be super relevant against their deck, so we're not going to bother playing it. We're just going to use it to pad our life total a little bit. Yeah, you can see me struggling to make sure the numbers worked out. But yeah, we're going to march for X5 on Yorion, pitching Leyline. Up to a healthy 23, and this allows us to get yet another Hive hit in. Nuking their graveyard, unsure as to whether that will matter, but doing it nonetheless. The opponent seems to have some sort of instant speed interaction, like they keep having definite priority passes. Another Doom Foretold. That's tough because... Oh, and then a Doom Foretold number 4. So there's 3 and 4 coming down, which is pretty bad for us. Like I said, there's no way we can flash something in, so they're getting the full value off both of those. And thankfully we had like a land to pitch to that, because I forgot when it goes off, it makes the opponent discard. So they draw a card, we discard, and then the next one goes off. Trying to decide what to do. End up pitching March. Not happy about that, but Extinction Event's going to clean up the tokens fairly nicely. So Extinction Event buys us a ton of time and clears the way for another Hive hit. Once again, trying to eat up those Doom Foretolds. Not sure if they can recur them somehow. Land pass from the opponent. They do have Castle Locthwain, so they're going to find their way out of this eventually. And we're trying to keep pressure on their life total. Now I've gotten to the point where we have enough mana to fire up 2 separate Hive of the Eye Tyrants. And you gotta love when games get all crazy and grindy like this. It just starts getting wonky. They have a removal spell. Float the black mana for Due Diligence, though it wouldn't really help us here. Do they have another? And they do. Another Heartless Axe. So, thankfully we still have 1 Hive left, but that hurts a lot. It's land destruction and we're losing our win cons at the same time. Not only that, but opponent is able to just fire off Castle Locthwain, so Birth of Meletus is fine. It was just, that's not really doing a whole lot at this point. But it will gain them some life and start putting bodies in the way of our Hive, so that is a little bit annoying. We try again, you know, our last remaining Hive, we can attack in. Keep eating up Doom Foretolds. And, you know, opponent's at 5, but it's still going to be a long way to go. Like, we've seen Omen of the Sun. They're going to gain a couple, you know, and then, yeah, here's another Omen of the Sun. So, they gain a bit of life, they get some creatures. Their Saga's going to add a creature, gain them some life. They get some scry value right here. Alright, happy to see 2 cards sent to the bottom, so they didn't like anything they saw. And now, the opponent's board is filling up, and everything in their deck produces card advantage. Almost every single card. And so, yeah, they're able to just keep grinding through everything we're trying. Soaring, the Mirthless here, that is a problem. We currently don't have like a really great way of dealing with it. Opponent's able to just get an extra land. So I thought they were going to create a creature there, but they're still digging for cards. They're playing Trial of Ambition, preemptive, like it's doing nothing here, but I didn't realize at the time, but that's a clue that they have more Yorions in their deck. That they play that preemptively in case we get a creature in play, they can flicker it. None of that, but they're incentivized to empty their hand with our Waste Not in play, so that's another reason. So smart play by the opponent. Now this is a tough one. I was trying to figure out if I could have the best of all worlds. So first off, the Surveil. Crawling Barrens is tempting because we have a ton of mana to sink into it, but opponent just is so many ways to keep throwing things in front of it. It doesn't seem very useful. So Surveil both those away and end up with our mission briefing flashing back March of Wretched Sorrow to take down Soaring. That is the most scary thing to us right now, the card advantage and the creatures it can supply. So it's going to be a shields down moment for us. We're hoping that this Extinction Event will buy us a lot of time, but this Flashback March is going to gain us a chunk of life, which is going to be very useful since we have a bunch of creatures in play. And so seeing that Field of Ruin hit the battlefield on their side makes me very, very glad I did not keep that the Crawling Barrens on top, because that would have just got absolutely massacred. So I fire up Hive the Eye Tyrant, knowing that this is going to happen. Field of Ruin takes it down. So we're currently at 0 creature lands and running out of basics. Scanning through the deck right now to see what we have, and there's honestly a lot of junk. Like, all those Thoughtseizes are really lame. We're hoping to find some action. At this point in time, we're hoping to find Fae of Wishes, because then we can access our sideboard and get something juicy. But we just keep playing our lands, and opponent has dealt with all of our creature lands, and now they're just running rampant with Castle Locthwain over there. So it's... And then even things get even worse. They have Castle Ardenvale with like their infinite mana, and so it's pretty trivial for them to like activate Castle Ardenvale and Castle Locthwain in the same turn. And so they'll be adding to the board and drawing cards every single turn, and we can't stop them. So here's a Yorion. Not great for us. Not the most high value Yorion, because they're just getting like a Thraben Inspector flicker. Still something, but honestly, Yorion as a 4/5 flyer right now is a big problem for us. So we find a Waste Not. Decide it's like desperation mode. Gotta fire off Extinction Event. Choosing Odd here, that gets rid of the Thraben Inspector and the Yorion. And then yeah, just play another Waste Not. Hope for the best. Opponent cracks the clue, still has different castle mana open. And they Castle Ardenvale, so they get another 1/1. And this has just been an intense game so far. I mean, what is going on? Two extremely grindy decks going at it. This is a key moment right here. So the opponent casts Lithoform Blight. Now, I had been previously doing calculations. The magic number for us is 12 mana. That allows us to use the granted half of Fae of Wishes and grab Ugin from our sideboard and cast it that same turn. So 12 mana. So the question is, do I sacrifice the land? Because that's going to put us further away from that magical 12. But sacrificing it denies them the card draw. Anyway, so there's a tough choice. Decided, it's worth to deny them the card draw. We've already seen multiple Yorions. We don't want them flickering that and drawing a ton of cards. So end up cracking Scavenger Grounds. And the opponent plays Spirited Companion. And so we are down a land by sacrificing in response. Just hoping it's the right decision to deny them the card draw there. So now we're down to, what do we have? We have 10 mana. The opponent's just going wild over there. holding on to Extinction Event, knowing that they're going to be making a lot more tokens. And then another Soaring comes down. It's just slipping away. There's no other way to say it. So opponent smacks us for 5. Now this Extinction Event will be incredibly strong here. And it does seem like we have to fire it off. Like now that they have a life linker, and that they have so many, like we just can't take those kind of hits. Fortunately, even here is going to wipe everything. So we get like, we live another day, but Castle Ardenville never sleeps. It's going to keep activating. We got to figure out something soon. An opponent plays another Lithiform Blight. We can't do anything about it this time, so they get their card draw. And another Field of Ruin. So between their creature lands, their castles, and their Field of Ruins, we are not, our creature lands are not getting through. So opponent decides to take 5 damage to put the Doomscar into hand. Now, let me know in the comments what you think about that. That seems incredibly bold to me. They could tell like we're sort of a slow, grindy deck, and maybe they just felt like their life total is under no pressure. We have no creature lands. They have Field of Ruin. Maybe they, now we have a creature land, but they have it covered. But that's insane to me, taking 5 life at that point. Like it just opens the door to us sort of sneaking something through. But maybe they felt like they had it covered. I don't know. It's a hard choice. But yeah, Field of Ruin takes down our other Crawling Barons, and once again checking the deck and just horrified at how much not helpful things are left. Realizing, we need that Fae of Wishes soon. And now, an Ugin Plus would actually kill them if we could actually survive long enough to find a Fae of Wishes and use Granted to grab one. But Soaring the Mirthless is going to make life difficult for us, and they also have a Hive of the Eye Tyrant. So before attacks, decide to fire off a Fatal Push. So we're at 9, we'll be taking 2 damage, and they have a life linker in play, so that's going to make things difficult for us. Now this is actually a pretty clutch draw here. Thoughtseize. Our life total's low, but we have 2 Waste Knots in play. We see Meathook, Massacre, and Doomscar. Definitely taking Meathook because we're on the Ugin Plus plan right now, and we don't want them getting any life back. So that allows us to turn Thoughtseize into a draw 2. We rip another discard spell and an Otawara, which is real clutch. So we know we can just take something with this discard and draw. So yeah, guaranteed take the Doomscar. Thoughtseize, not useful anymore. Waste Not triggers, more lands. Now the question is, do we hold the Thought Scour for next turn? But the thing is, like, is there even going to really be a next turn? Decide to use sorry, not Thought Scour, Thought Erasure. Trying to figure out, timing wise, they're gonna make another token with Castle Ardenvale, have that many attackers. Decide it's worth it. We need the Surveil. We're not getting any discard value, but we need the Surveil. We have to find the Fae of Wishes. And it's there. It's on top. Okay. Very, very excited to see that. And thankfully, we have plenty of mana to activate Otawara Channel to take out their vampire. Because once again, not only do we need to stay alive, we need to deny them any life gain. So they go to attackers. Attack us for lethal. We have Otawara Channel to destroy their token. And so we take 3 down to 2. Opponent pluses. They're limited at what they could put in their hand at this point with such low life. All right, so they something too expensive to
Blood for
put in hand,
knowledge, a fair trade.
and we draw Fae of Wishes. Now we have a pain land because of that lithoform blight, so I'm preemptive and making sure it doesn't kill us somehow by like, anyway, just being extra careful. But we, you know, double, triple, quadruple counting the mana to make sure it's working out. Yeah, we can cast Granted, grab Ugin, and do they have Omen of the Sun? We see the good game, and that's it. Wow, what a battle that was! Those are very memorable games. And so, yeah, we draw our first draw of the game is Leyline of the Void right on time. Would have loved that in our opening hand instead. Red-blue lands from the opponent, and they pass. Wonder if it's like some sort of control deck. Anyway, decide to play Waste Not, and it resolves. Land from the opponent, and they hammer, so play with fire, getting that scry value from it. And we see Stormwing Entity. Alright, so already we're under huge pressure. 3/3 prowess flying. And they scry 2 cards on top. Not exactly what we want to see. And we have to, in order to really play stuff right here, we have to use our shock land, which feels pretty horrible. But since we have Waste Not in play, seems like a good Thought Erasure turn. And now we can see that they're an Arclight Phoenix deck. Now I think I make a pretty big mistake here. I think I was thinking too short turn. I take the Charter Course. I think I should have taken the Finale instead of that, because the Finale could get it back anyway. So, and it auto casts Phoenix. But you could see this is a game we would have loved to turn 0 Leyline. And yeah, so opponent's putting us under pressure. We're already down to 13. Trying to figure out what to do. Fortunately, Extinction Event doesn't take both of them out. But the Storming Entity, we cannot Fatal Push it. So we had to name Odd here and hope for the best. Opponent plays Consider, and the counters start developing on the egg. Chart, of course. And they are able to pitch a Phoenix, so we get a zombie for our troubles, but man, we are just really wishing we had that Leyline in play to prevent this. But we're able to take down the egg before it turns into a dragon, causes us problems. And I mean, this is risky because there's a lot they want to discard, and we have no safeguard against their graveyard at this point. Now I make a pretty big mistake here, trying to figure out what to discard, thinking like I probably should have discarded Leyline, honestly, because I discard probably the worst card, which is Fae of Wishes. I think I should have discarded Fatal Push, because Fae of Wishes, we have a Tormod's Crypt in our sideboard, and we might have been able to set something up with that. However, opponent's really going off right now with the Finale. They're able to, get the requisite triple spell cast, pitching another Phoenix, and they get to burn Liliana for good measure. And so 2 Arc-like Phoenixes come in, 1 takes down Liliana, 1 hits us, and this game's unraveling very quickly. We don't have much life total to work with. And we just haven't been drawing lands, so everything's been stranded on our hands so far. Fire off Disinformation Campaign, and Lightning Axe is another draw. We still miss a land, and yeah, the Phoenixes are flyers, and we have no way to turn on Fatal Push to take them down at this point. So just attack in, and I'm trying to think, and they have 6 damage guaranteed. ponder for a second and decide, yeah, might as well Thoughtseize, see if we can, disrupt them somehow and, get some waste not value, see if we can make something happen. And they have 2 strategic planning, so we were able to draw a card for our troubles. Once again, missing a land. And opponent rips another Phoenix, so they haste it out, and we're dead. Valiant effort, though. Alright, so that's Waste Campaign. And yeah, it's just a fun deck. It fights on sort of a unique axis, and you get to use cards you don't always see. And yeah, I think there's still a lot of refinement that can happen, but it feels like it's getting closer to being like a serviceable deck. It felt like I was getting mana screwed a lot. We have a lot of ways to like use up our mana. I would love to. There's currently 24 lands. Would love to maybe boost that up to 25 or 26, maybe with the help of MDFCs. But I'm not really sure where to sort of tweak things. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. We had some crazy epic games and a lot of creature land battles. So it's just good, clean fun, discarding your opponent's hands. So, but yeah, this is fun, and this is a concept definitely going to revisit it once the Surveil gets keyworded onto a whole bunch of other things. Could completely change the complexion of this deck, but here's a starting point if nothing else. So anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day.